You're probably not doing as many open houses as you used to. And why would you? Only 6% of buyers find the home they buy from an open house. That's down from 16% in 2004, according to the NAR. A lot of agents feel like open houses are dead or useless. In HomeLight's latest Top Agent Insights survey, we asked agents, how effective are open houses at getting a house sold? On a scale of 1 to 10, they scored only a 4. Not very effective at all. But what if the assumptions are wrong? What if we talk to someone who's still doing open houses, someone who's using them to sell the home and attract new buyer and seller clients? Let's talk about the anatomy of a successful open house. This is the walkthrough. Hey everyone, I'm Matt McGee, and on this show you'll learn what's working right now from the best real estate agents in the country. The walkthrough is part of HomeLight's Agent Resource Center, which we created to help agents like you grow your business from good to great to amazing. At HomeLight, we believe in real estate agents, and we believe that by helping agents like you be more productive, more efficient, and more successful, the entire industry improves. If you'd like to reach me with feedback, ideas, or questions about the walkthrough, just send an email to walkthrough@homelight.com. In fact, we're going to be reading and sharing some of those incoming emails on future shows. So if you have a question that you want to ask other agents, send it in. If you have a follow-up question for today's guest, send it in. Again, the email address to use is walkthrough@homelight.com. All right, cards on the table, everyone. How many of you are doing open houses regularly? As the numbers I mentioned earlier indicate, probably not a lot of you. Open houses have fallen out of favor. Buyers can just go online and see whatever home they want, right? Well, today I'm going to introduce you to Ron Abta, a 17-year veteran who's ranked in the top 1% of agents in San Francisco. Ron and his team still do open houses for almost every listing they get. Why? Well, he says they help get his name out in the community and they help grow his business. He also says they can do the same for you if you take the right approach. I asked Ron to walk us through how he does an open, the marketing and prep work before, the experience he wants to create for visitors during the open house, and, he says this is the most important piece of all, how he follows up after it's over. So you'll hear specific advice on what makes a home a good candidate for an open house, specific scripts to soft sell your way into the hearts of potential clients. Believe it or not, Ron doesn't force visitors to sign in. You'll also hear how to customize your follow-up based on where the lead is in their real estate journey. There's a lot to chew on in the next half hour, but our conversation began with a twist. Get this, Ron is the real estate agent who inspired the creation of HomeLight back in 2012. You may know some of the background. Drew, our founder, and his wife almost lost their dream home in San Francisco due to mistakes and missed deadlines. It was just a really bad experience. And then they found a new real estate agent, none other than Ron Abta, who cleaned it all up and made the deal happen. And it all began with a Facebook ad.
So the crazy story, I put an ad on Facebook, and this is back in the day when that was pretty much a kind of a nascent thing, almost whatever,
2011 for sure. That was pretty new.
And I have an MBA from Stanford, so I went to graduate school, got my MBA there, and Drew, you're the founder of HomeLight, also, and got an MBA from there, and so he saw, and I had the the omniscience, I should say, I guess now looking back, to put Stanford MBA in the Facebook ad. And as a result, that resonated with Drew, being a fellow Stanford MBA, and so he somehow contacted me, and we're off and running. And then just to continue with the story, so that's how I helped the founder of HomeLight buy a home. But then during that process, he's like, this is just a lot of, it's just not optimized very well. Like, this process is just kind of not really, it could be done better. And so we started chatting, and I made an offhanded remark to him about how there's a referral that is often paid. If one agent tells another agent about a client, hey, I have a client moving from Los Angeles to San Francisco, whatever. You pay a referral fee. It's customary in the business. Pay a referral fee. I made this offhanded comment to Drew, and clearly he's brilliant, because otherwise, just something that I never saw as being that important. He saw a whole huge company and all the potential that is HomeLight today. So he ran with it, and here we are.
And here we are. That's quite a story. So here's the agent that helped inspire Drew to figure out a better way to do real estate, and yeah, here we are. Crazy. Well, it is wonderful to have you here. So if we can, spend the next however amount of time, I want to talk about open houses. Yeah. You've probably seen some of the numbers. It's the National Association of Realtors. They do every year. They do that profile of buyers and sellers, right? And so the most recent one for 2019, it said 6% of buyers found their house that they bought through an open house. Yeah. 15 years ago in 2004, that number was 16%, right? So do you have a sense that agents in general are sort of like not holding open houses as much as they used to? Or is the concept of the open house like dying?
I think it's definitely true, but more so depending on the asset. And let me explain. So if you have a higher end property priced several $1 million, there might be things in that property that owner may not want people to potentially steal at an open house. So there could be security. They may not want their neighbors to if they're still living in the house, they might want to guard their privacy. And there might be things in the property that, they would rather not have it be known that for the public to see, whether it be artwork or something. And so as a result, you often see the higher end homes. It is a little bit more guarded, and it's really private showings only. If you do the middle tier of the market or lower end of the market, that market is it's still active as far as open houses. But so the answer to your question is kind of a hybrid answer. It just depends on the asset and where it is in the pecking order of, is it like luxury or is it more like first time home buyer type product?
Gotcha. So every quarter we at HomeLight do our top agents insight survey, and the one that was just done for Q4 of this year had several questions about open houses. I think it was 52% of respondents do an open house for every listing, which I suppose is probably also down from 10, 15 years ago. But then 35% of agents say that they do open houses for only one of every 5 listings that they get. So I think it's pretty clear that open houses are not as favored as they were before overall in general, probably across the country, depending upon which market you're in. Where do you guys, with the listings you have, what percentage of your listings do you do open houses for?
We do them on almost all of them, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so we probably go the other way. And I think the reason is it's part of my business model in the sense that it's for me, I look at an open house as not just an opportunity to sell that home, but the statistics they don't lie. But it's also a way to advertise myself. So, and to get my name out there, because oftentimes who comes into open houses, it's true, maybe not as many buyers as the next door neighbors and the looky-loos and maybe, but you do get other owners in the neighborhood that will come just because they want to. Sure. They're very conscious and they care about what the value of that home will be, because it'll influence the value of their home. So what the price is going to get for that home. So they care. So it's more of a business development tool for me, and that's why I like to do them. But I understand if I'm the minority, and maybe I'm old school. I've been doing this a long time. Maybe newer agents, they look at the statistics and they see that, hey, it doesn't work.
Right.
I'd rather do an ad on Instagram to try to direct traffic and do private showings that way to get the house sold. But I'm old school, and then I still like to be present.
Yeah, I think the internet probably has played a huge role in that, right? Because a buyer can go online and get essentially a virtual tour, a 3D tour for pretty much any listing they want. So maybe the buyers are thinking, I don't really need to see the house.
Well, there's great technology tools out. Matterport is a company that's done. It's amazing. If you see the camera, it's got like 15 lenses on it, and you can like really get a feel from a 3D perspective. So I can understand, that. And, with newer agents, they probably are thinking, I'm not going to get that much business from the open house. So why waste my time? I'd rather have my free time, do something else on the weekend. But I don't think that's, I've gotten a good amount of business out of open houses. Most, however, I could see how some agents say, I don't want to do open houses because most buyers already have an agent. So how many people are really coming into an open house that don't already have representation? And so therefore I could see why they'd rather maybe utilize that the weekend time elsewhere, maybe taking a buyer out to look at open houses instead of holding open their own listing. I could see that agents have to kind of make that call how best to use their time, because that's all we have is time. That's our most precious.
Yeah, no, that's true. I liked what you said a couple minutes ago about using it sort of as an excuse to connect with the neighborhood, but also to get your name out. My wife's an agent up in Washington State. And so, and I've helped her for the past few years before I started at HomeLight with her marketing. And that's sort of how we always looked at it too, is that hold the open house. It gives you a chance to be active on social media and advertise and tell your friends about it. It gives you a chance to, do Craigslist or whatever you might be doing. And so, yeah, it's another thing. Hey, we are active in the business. We're selling homes and all that sort of stuff. I think that's a really good way for agents to look at it.
Yeah. I think if you're going to do an open house, you should kind of double down. And what I mean by that is like, try to get the most out of it if you're going to be there, meaning do that. Like you said, Craigslist. Why not advertise the open house on Craigslist? It's free. It's easy. And just, maybe somebody who's not represented. There's a lot of tech buyers that they go on Craigslist, they go, Zillow. Why not advertise the open house, to kind of increase the chances that somebody will come in, kind of up those odds you talked about, those statistics, kind of try to be an outlier of those statistics instead. That's what I would suggest.
Okay. So in your opinion, so you said you guys do open houses for almost all of your listings. Let's say you were being more selective and maybe not doing them all. Maybe you were doing 50 or 60%. Generally speaking, what makes a house a good candidate for an open house? Is it the price point? Is it maybe that there's unique features inside?
I mean, if there's some sizzle to the house, I agree. If there's something that might resonate with people, if it has a great view, if it has if it's been updated, if the price, I think you can have sizzle in any one particular avenue. It could be whether it be like, the view, as I mentioned, it doesn't necessarily need to be price. It can be, as long as there's something that's attractive about the property.
Something that makes it stand out.
The backyard. Right. The backyard's landscaped beautifully. Something. And you lead with that, your hero shot, and the advertisement. Like if it has an amazing view, instead of the first picture being the kitchen, have the first picture be the view. Or if it has amazing Victorian facade, beautiful art, San Francisco traditional architecture that is just, people go gaga for it because it's so lovely, it's beautiful, then maybe a facade being the first shot. But something that's going to lead, you got to have, the picture has to try to draw people to that property for that open house. So you got to lead with your best hand. And if that is the view, great. If that's the kitchen, great. If it's the Victorian facade, that's attractive. Whatever it is, great. But just lead with that to try to get people to want to come.
You only have one chance, and 7 seconds or something, 5 seconds, somebody's scrolling through their Facebook feed or wherever they might be. You've got to get their attention right away.
Yeah. If they're looking for a view, and you're leading with that picture with the view, they're going to go. They're going to see it. They're going to visit.
For sure. So that's a perfect segue. I kind of want to do a before, during, after thing on your process for open houses. So before the open house, obviously you have to market it. You want as many people as possible to come in the door. So what do you do? What do you and your team do to get people's feet in the door, especially, as we said earlier, when people can just go online and see so much of it?
Great question. I think the things what what I call priming the pump. What I mean by that is, hitting the ground running. The worst thing that you can do is, you put it on the MLS, the days on market tick along. And so you need to kind of make sure that your open house is going to be really well trafficked. And that means trying to stoke the fire within the brokerage community. So blasting it out, I keep a database of the 6,000 or so agents in the, the Bay Area, San Francisco has around 5,000. I make sure to blast it out even before it goes on the market, just advertising the open house. And the reason is that those agents they're the ones that have the clients, and they'll hopefully direct their buyer to the open house. So doing that even before we flip the switch on the MLS, the multiple listing service. So just trying to, prime the pump to get people to visit, to get as much foot traffic as possible. And what that does is two things. One, it gives you it makes for obviously a successful open house, but also if you have a lot of people that are at an open house, if you're a buyer, it's like, oh my gosh, look at all wow, this is a popular property.
Suddenly the desire level goes way up.
Exactly. And so and that's why, as far as open houses, there's a lot of ways to game it. You can do 1 to 5 p.m. But I'm kind of the school of this, where if you can kind of create a sense of, wow, this is a popular property, look at all the people are here, like shortening it, maybe just doing the 2 to 4, you know what I mean? And therefore, because, you never know, you might get all these people and they see it, and then you raise the value of the home in their eyes subconsciously.
I've heard of agents doing 30-minute and 1 hour open houses, and no, we're not going to do it again tomorrow. You've got this one chance to get in and see this house.
I haven't heard the 30-minute one, but
that's crazy.
But that's same logic. Right. Exactly. So, but to a bigger degree. Right. Yeah, but I like that. So maybe I'll try that.
I mean, if you want to create, I guess that works if you have a house that there's going to be demand for, right? Because that'd be embarrassing if you do a 30-minute open house and nobody shows.
Well, imagine trying to explain that to your seller.
Right.
Excuse me, Ron, why did you only do 30 minutes? Are you lazy? What's going on here? Then, you have to explain yourself.
First, you have to get seller approval for something like that. Okay. So you're pre-marketing for the open house, online and offline?
Oh, yeah. And also trying to get, oftentimes you'd be surprised, neighbors might have friends that they want to have moved to the neighborhood. I do a mailer to them as well, an invitation to them for them to come to the open house. And you can game it also about instead of it being from 2 to 4, so you only want to have buyers during that time, maybe you invite them to come from 1 to 2.
Just for the neighborhood.
In the mailing that you send out, the invitation you send out to the neighborhood. So that way you try to bifurcate the audience. So that way you can focus on just the sellers from 1 to 2. And then from 2 to 4, you have buyers that are coming in. And it just kind of helps you, left brain, right brain. It kind of, you just focus on one type of audience, talking about, what a great person you are when it comes to representing sellers. But then from 2 to 4, you're just trying to sell the home to the actual people that might be a buyer versus a neighbor who might just be curious. Right. So that's how there's a couple different ways. That's how I've done it in the past. It's worked pretty well.
And you advertise it to the neighborhood as, here's an exclusive opportunity for you to come and see the house before the open house, that kind of thing?
And you can also do twilights before the open house as well, like wine and cheese I've done from 5:30 to 7 on a Thursday before the Saturday, Sunday open houses. So you can it doesn't have to be from 1 to 2. You can play with the timing.
Okay. Speaking of that, and again, another perfect segue, in a lot of real estate markets, this concept of the mega open house has caught on. Do you trying to turn it into an event kind of thing? So do you ever do anything like bringing a chef in or bringing live music in, that sort of thing?
Oh God, yeah. We've done the parties that you often see on $1 Million Listing, LA and New York. Yeah, we do that when it makes sense to. So if we have some amazing property and the developer has done a really good job and we're really proud of the work that was done there and we really want to showcase it, show it off, we will kind of, and the price point warrants it, we will do a private party. And, you bring the caterer in, you rent the stemware, you do all that stuff to try to, try to give the property that allure that it needs to try to hit the price point. That might be a little bit of a stretch if it's, a nice property. You wouldn't necessarily do it for the cookie cutter condo, or the price point doesn't warrant it. But for the what I call like, not the trophy properties, but the special properties, it might make sense to do that to please your seller, because they'll be excited to, and also, during that party, you can invite the architect who might, if it's a full remodel, invite the architect, and it's a way to showcase that architect, and maybe they'll also help pay a little bit too, because if they're able to,
connect with somebody,
to potential clients. So it's a win-win.
Hi, everyone. If you're enjoying the walkthrough, we'd appreciate it if you tell the real estate agents in your network about us. Even more, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Your feedback helps us get better, and in some cases can also help new listeners find and hear us. And when we get around to having you on the show, the more listeners, the better, right?
So somebody shows up at the door, they come in. What experience do you want the visitor to have when they tour the house?
So that is a great question. So you have a couple different objectives in your head. One, you want to qualify who they are. They're somebody. Who are they? There's so much wealth in this town. Somebody could be in like shorts and a t-shirt and be a billionaire. You wouldn't, So you need to qualify who they are. So, but at the same time, you don't want to be so in their face asking qualifying questions, like trying to flesh them out. Like, are they should they even be there? Or are they really just a tire kicker? But you have to be gentle about it, because you don't want to preclude anybody because you don't know who they are. They could be Mark Zuckerberg's cousin, and so you don't know. But at the same time, you also don't want to, you want them to have a good experience and not feel pestered. And so you need to kind of feel the situation and your qualification of them and ask them some quick questions. The first question I ask somebody who comes in is, "Oh, thank you so much for coming today. How'd you hear about it?" Okay. And then, that how they answer it tells me where I'm going to go in that decision tree of.
And that's not a scary is not the word, but that's not a question that's going to turn them off. Like if you hit them immediately with how soon are you planning to buy?
Or please sign in, like give me your email and cell phone number. Please sign in before I let you see the house. That's not really nice either, because it's like you're a gatekeeper. Instead, I don't do that. A lot of agents do, because they want to grab that information.
You don't do sign-ins at all?
I do sign it. I have it there. And if they want to, they see it. It's a visual prompt, but I don't actually.
But you don't say, go here first and sign in.
And instead what I do is I try to flip it as I'm like, I have something of value. I have an MBA from Stanford, or I'm an expert in that neighborhood, or here's what's, I have a list of sales. I send out a monthly data sheet on what is sold in the neighborhood in case you're interested. I try to provide value to that person who's walking in, seller or buyer. And so there's a little sign that says, I have a newsletter. If you're interested, please, give your name. I'm happy to add you to my,
but it's all optional.
List. It's all optional, but I make sure to mention it. Okay. But I don't lead with it. So instead what I lead is, as I mentioned, I try to qualify them. And then I see how they answer will tell me if they're willing to engage with me in the sense of they're willing to have a dialogue, or if it's just leave me alone type of person. If it's a just leave me alone type of person, okay, then I don't want to ruin their experience, nor do I want them to associate me with that bad experience. I'll let them free. I'll let them be. And I'll just maybe what I'll do is I'll just try to sprinkle information as they're walking different rooms. Oh, hey, just make sure you notice that. Oh, by the way, just in case you didn't notice, there's this, built-in closets or something about the, or hey, just in case you didn't notice, the floors in the bathroom are heated. Electric radiant heat, some stat about the
something
property.
To give them to go look for and
just more trying to offer them, trying to help them. And if you do it that way versus hey, are you looking are you ready to?
Here's my card. I'm a real estate agent. Write your name down here.
Please sign in. Please sign in. Give me information instead of me providing information to you.
There's an art form, I guess, to soft selling. You're selling, but you're not really selling. You're just making yourself available, that kind of thing.
I lead with the soft sell, but then very quickly, depending on who they are, how I qualify them, I quickly can move to not the hard sell, but just through that qualification process.
So what does that look like?
Well, if they're ready to go, oh man, we're getting evicted. There's somebody who's doing an owner move-in eviction. I got 30 days. I got to find something. okay, well, that immediately they want the hard sell. Right. They're like, well, that's that, versus the extreme. The other side of the spectrum is, I'm just starting off on my search. I'm not sure if I want to, if I'm going to continue, if I want to just continue to rent versus buy. Like that's the other end of the extreme versus somebody who's like, I got 30 days. I've been wanting to buy. This is the kick in the pants I needed. I got 30 days. I'm being evicted. I need to buy something in 30 days. Well, let's go. Right. Well, that's that. And then you quickly move to fifth gear from first gear versus like 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? Right. So that's
so in response to that person, you say, do you have an agent? That sort of stuff?
Exactly. Like, okay, like I quickly go to execution mode. Like, okay, well, are you pre-qualified for a loan? Like, are you ready? You need to get a loan? You never know. Again, these people might be in a t-shirt and be all cash for a $5 million home. You never know. So you just quickly go through the questions to flesh them out, see who they are and when they want to make a move.
Do you feel obligated to have a face-to-face conversation with everybody that walks in?
I try. Because there's no like email, texting. It's just, you need to have that one-on-one. You need to have that connection, especially if they're going to hire you to represent them. How can you do that over the phone or on text or on Instagram or on Snapchat, whatever? You need to have, this is still, again, I'm old school. I've been doing this 17 years. I still feel this is a contact business. Right. It's not social media business. This is a contact business. And somebody's going to let you represent them on the biggest purchase of their life. If I were in their shoes, I'd want to talk to that person. So I always try to put myself in the other party's shoes and try to act accordingly. How would I like to be treated? And that's been a good way to go.
Do you ever do giveaways or gifts or anything like that to get?
Yeah, but it's just tchotchkes. I mean, I don't think that's the real value. I'm not sure somebody's going to buy a $1 million home because they got a free tape measure or a pen or something from me or a candy bar or whatever it might be. But yeah, I mean, I've done that. And what I'd rather do is instead of giving like these little things, these throwaways, I call them, these tchotchkes, I'd rather like have a report ready, like at the property about the neighborhood. So more informational, more data driven, more value. Like I think that's more valuable than a tape measure. Like you have like my analysis on the market and for that neighborhood where that open house is taking place. I think that is more valuable than, some giveaway. Right. That's how I view it.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And especially, here in San Francisco where it's, to a large degree, high level properties and all that sort of stuff, it could be seen as sort of
could be different in the other lower price point parts of the country. But at least in San Francisco, where one bedroom is going to sell for close to $1 million now. Like it's the cost of entry is so high that I just feel like you're going to be dealing with very sophisticated buyers. That's my assumption, which may not always be the case, but that's it.
No, I mean, so I think the takeaway there is know your audience. Right? Like who's coming to your open house? Who are you trying to attract? And, decide that way if some sort of gift or giveaway is even appropriate.
If it'll resonate with them or not, or they're just, if some PhD comes in or some executive and you've got some cheap like tchotchke giveaway. I mean, it kind of dilutes your brand as an agent instead of trying to, there's a disconnect between what you're trying to sell if it's $1 million property or $2 million property and then the gift and the type of clientele that are coming in. It's just like it's a disconnect to me. So anyway.
Right. So, okay. So you mentioned providing them with information. What does that look like? What do we look like? Sales in the neighborhood over, say, the past 90 days, something like that?
I do the past 6 months because I think that's how appraisers, when they look at to value a home, when they go to do an appraisal of a property that you might be in contract on, they look at sales the past 6 months as indicative of the market. So I do the same. I just follow what appraisers do, and I just give 6 months of data. Anything older than 6 months, the market can change in 6 months. So anything beyond that doesn't make sense to me.
Now, when you're putting this together, are you like dressing it up with the logo and the branding and everything? Or is it just really, here's a photocopy of the data? Like how fancy are we getting here?
Yeah. It depends on the collateral, the piece of collateral. If it's just data, then it's just a PDF file without, it has my name and my address and phone number and all that. But if it's like, but then I also have what I call a beauty piece, like the business portfolio, where it's like a nice brochure. I brought one if you want to see it. So he's like, you leave that out. Here's how great I am. Like the very, very, immodest piece of, of like how, why I'm the best in the business and, like why hire me. Cause there are over 4,000 agents in San Francisco alone. Like, you could go, you got to make your case. And so you lead with your best hand. For me, if it's a Stanford MBA, if somebody comes in and, we have a dialogue and I find out that they're, this happened many times. They also went to Stanford. I went to Berkeley. Maybe they went to Berkeley undergrad and they go, and then we have a fun conversation. So wait a minute, who you root for in the big game? You have but if you have the dialogue, then you can lead with that, you can work it.
Okay. Let's talk about, after the open house. Tell me about your follow-up with the visitors, the ones that do fill out the form, which, maybe it's not a high percentage. What do you do after the open house?
This is the most important, actually, to me. I mean, of course, you grab them, but like if you grab them and you do nothing with it, it's wasted. It's worse than had you done nothing at all, in my opinion, because you expended that energy, you got them, and then you just let it. You didn't do anything with it. So that's why I feel like what you do post open house is even more important than the open house itself when it comes to prospecting. So let me explain. So if the challenge is that you don't know when that person's going to buy. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. I've had people come into an open house and contact me 5 years later. Oh, wow. And they remembered me. And they kept my information or whatever. And like, you may not remember me, but I came into your open house in the marina in San Francisco back in 2012 and blah, blah, blah. And like, so my point is that if you drip on them, and I think I might have put them on my newsletter, my monthly newsletter. If you drip on them, what I mean by drip is like just marketing to them periodically, then what's great about that is even if they might be 2-3 years away from buying, at least you've captured them and you're going to stay in front of them for 3 years down the road when they are ready to buy. And so, but if you don't do that, then you've spent all that time and energy to capture their contact information. You do nothing with it. It's a complete waste. And so you have to have a campaign, an organized campaign, a database, a marketing calendar internally to yourself. Like, when am I going to market to these people? And you need to and you want to be careful. You don't want to just like send them like fluff piece, like, emails like, oh, make sure you turn your clock back an hour, like it has, I don't go that.
You want to provide them value.
Exactly. That's my MO. I want to make sure that they are going to read that email. They're going to open the email and go, wow, you know what? That guy, Ron, he knows his stuff. He seems to really he's got his finger on the pulse. When I'm ready to buy in a year or two, I'm saving up for my down payment, I'm going to reach out to that guy. And it's all automated. It's an email. I send it to my marketing manager. She inputs it in the database and it's done. It's easy. Yeah. And I just by an email. And so, but if you don't at least do that, or let's take it a step further. Let's say they are ready. Let's say that, it's time, my wife and I just got married. She's 2 months pregnant. We'd love to get home in 6 months. Then it changes to not just being in the database. And then if they're not already represented, then I'll try to get their search parameters. Oh, what neighborhoods do you like? What's your budget? How many bedrooms do you need? Do you need parking? What kind of parking? Side by side? Okay. Or tandem parking, et cetera. Lease park, you start going through the list of questions and then put them on, automated search, agent. And then they get automated, results when a properties exactly. What you do with that information depends on who they are.
And timing. Open house is Saturday. You're doing this by Monday at the latest.
Oh God, yeah. I do it, and I try to do it. We're so programmed now with this hyper fast, social media and like information being disseminated so quickly. I try to do it same day. Okay. Yeah. I try to that night. I try to send an email if they're really like qualified and like we've had a dialogue and we had a connection in some way. I'll send them an email that night. Hey, thank you for coming to the open house today. As discussed, I wanted to send you some other properties. Since this property didn't sound like it's the right fit because of this problem that you mentioned about it didn't have enough bedrooms or whatever, but there's some other ones that might be of interest to you. Here's a link to them. Like it won't be some automated CRM it'll be more customized because again, if there's 7-figure purchase, at least in San Francisco, that's almost everything. I think to me, it warrants that kind of attention.
Gotcha. One last question about after the open house. What kind of report or summary do you give to the seller?
I ask, it depends on the seller because some of them just want an email. And some of them say, I don't need it after Saturday's open house. Just send me a summary at the end of the, on Sunday evening's fine. And if they are really, if it's a seller and it's their developer and they are, really more high, you have to more hand holding to them or more they really want more communication than most. I'll do a phone call. I ask the seller, what's their style? Like, do they like texting? Are they electronic? Are they more old school with the phone call? Like what works with them? And they'll tell you because most of us know by now what we like. Right. If we like the phone, the email, the text.
So, okay. I mean, this has been fantastic. I think so. If there were takeaways from the whole conversation, open houses aren't dead.
No.
You're still doing them.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of agents are, maybe not as many as before, but there's still a purpose to them.
I think that's a mistake that they don't do them. I think it's a mistake. I think they'll get more business if they do them.
Be intentional about it, have a plan, and then be ready.
Be organized about it.
And create an experience too. And follow up immediately with the folks that you connect with.
Crucial. Probably the most important thing.
Ron, thank you so much for being here.
It was a pleasure.
Thanks so much, Ron. There's a lot of great stuff in there. So let me ask agents, are you reconsidering your approach to open houses? Did you get some ideas from Ron about how you can make opens work for you? I know Ron and I kind of did some really quick takeaways there at the end, but I want to tag onto that right now with some stuff that stood out for me. Number one, the best candidates for an open house are homes with sizzle, something that stands out, something that makes the home unique or different. Maybe it's a great view or the incredible backyard or a man cave inside the home. Yes. Use that as the lead in your marketing, he said, to get people to show up. Don't just share the generic photo of the home's facade. Do something different to capture attention. Number two, I love how Ron talked about giving value to visitors, not taking from them as soon as they show up. I was seriously shocked when he said he doesn't require sign-ins at his open houses. I'm sure he could see it in my face too. But go back if you need and re-listen to everything he said about the soft sell approach and leading with value to the visitor. Number three, did you catch this near the end? He said, what you do post-open house is even more important than the open house itself. Let me say that again. What you do post-open house is even more important than the open house itself. It's all in the follow-up. And Ron laid out a great plan for talking to each visitor to find out where they are in their real estate journey and then customizing your follow-up accordingly. Put them on a drip and newsletter campaign if they're in the early stages, or send them property listings if they're closer to buying. What you do post-open house is even more important than the open house itself. I love that. Great stuff. Okay, questions for Ron about what you heard? Questions for me or HomeLight? Feedback? Ideas? Email us. walkthrough@homelight.com is the address. In fact, I have an offer. Send me an email with your biggest win of the week or month. We're going to have a podcast segment called HomeLight Home Run, and we'd love to include your success stories. It could be as simple as something you posted on Facebook that got a ton of engagement, or as complicated as a difficult transaction that you went above and beyond to serve your client and get it closed. We'd love to share your success stories as a future HomeLight Home Run. Again, the email address is walkthrough@homelight.com. That's all for this week. Thanks to Ron Abta for joining us to talk about the anatomy of a successful open house, and thank you for listening. Go out and sell some homes, and we'll talk to you again next week. Bye-bye.